Arizona football has a very dynamic running game to go with its passing game. What can we expect from the running game going forward this entire season?
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, this show is brought to you today by FanDuel. Check it out. All kinds of really good stuff at FanDuel.com. All right, here's the great thing. And again, college football is here, so check it out, FanDuel.com. All right, now, Arizona football, we know that they're going to have a dynamic running game. That took like 5 seconds to figure out, you could have just basically watched this team during camp and figured out, or just known what the roster was and known that this was going to be a very good offense. But the thing that I think a lot of people were very curious about is what was the defense going to look like? The running game, what was that going to look like? And the running game has been it's going to be fantastic pretty much all season. We had a show the other day where we're like, okay, could the running game be even better this year? I don't know that the running game is necessarily going to be better, but I think it could be every bit as good, and I think it could be better, and that's just because of the players that are on this team. And just basically the kind of talent that we're talking about here. And, let's just kind of go one by one and we'll talk about the different players the different options these guys have. Now, the first one, obviously, is Jacory Croskey Merritt. He's an NFL back. When you look at him, he just looks a little bit different than basically everybody else out there. He's about 6'1", 210, and he's got very much the feel of a player that's going to play in the NFL. And he just, like I said, he just looks a little bit different. I think that he's going to probably go for around 80 to 100 yards every single game. The one thing about him is I don't think that he's going to be able to get into that 1,500 yard realm, mainly because he's going to have to split time. But with Alonzo Carter, that's one thing that Alonzo Carter really wants to do, and he's made that very well known that he wants to be able to run the ball, and he's going to have a stable of players in the backfield, which is obviously a very good thing. You saw that though with Jacory Croskey Merritt. I don't know that he's necessarily going to be the ball carry or the receiver out of the backfield. We're going to get that in a second. But when the chips are all down, and you need a drive, it's going to be one of two guys, and the Jacory Croskey Merritt is the one that merits the most attention, in my opinion. He's just, like I said, he's just a big time football player, and he, like I said, Arizona did its due diligence with him because he is you don't find guys like him in the portal a ton. Everybody's talking about Quinshon Judkins and, players like that. But this dude is right up there with about anybody, and I think you're going to see that by the end of the season. Just a great football player, and like Noah Fafita said, he's like, that guy's a little bit different. And when you watch him, you can just see that, yeah, that dude's a little bit different. And that's what I think is exciting about this is, listen, last year with Jonah Coleman, he's fantastic. I mean, he's kind of that Marshawn Lynch bowling ball type. But I don't know that he necessarily has some of the top-end talent. And again, this is not a diss towards Jacory Croskey Merritt because the dude's absolutely fantastic. But Jacory Croskey Merritt, towards Jonah Coleman but Jacory Croskey Merritt very much just has kind of that feel. It's going to be fun to watch, and one thing that was brought up before, and I think it's a great point, is that I think as long as Alonzo Carter's here, you're not going to have to worry about running back play. You're not going to have to worry about that because this dude knows what he wants in his running backs, and if you're a running back, you're going to be excited to be around him mainly because he knows what he's doing, and just look at the way that they were able to overhaul this, this running back room in 1 year. Losing Michael Wiley, borderline NFL player, then you lose DJ Williams, you lose obviously Jonah Coleman, and Arizona was able to get to that next level, and that's I think what's exciting about all of this. Then you've also got Quali Conley, or as Rod Gilmore would call him, Quail Conley. We will definitely be getting to that. But he's just good. He's good. I think the comparison to Michael Wiley is very apropos, and that he is just a solid back. He can do a lot of different things. You saw that he could catch passes out of the backfield. He also has a very good knack of just being able to get to the just to be able to find the hole in the defense, and to be able to take that one to the house then, or to be able to set up his blockers correctly. He can just do a lot of different things. And when you watch him, you also know that he's kind of a professional type running back, and that not necessarily an NFL player, but if the offensive line does its job well, he is going to get into the next level. He's going to get into the, and he's going to make some people miss. He's a lot more talented, like I said, than some people I think thought. But generally, like I said, guys that are at San Jose State, again, this isn't Arizona Christian or something that he was playing at. When you're at San Jose State, and like I said, you go for over 2,000 yards, 7 yards a pop over the last 2 seasons, you're obviously a good football player. So that part is very, like I said, that part with him is very, very good. That's a really, really good two-headed monster. And like I said, I think that duo goes every bit up there with Jonah Coleman and Michael Wiley. And I don't think that I'm really, I don't think I'm really speaking, or I don't think I'm really being biased there. What I do like about watching this group, though, is I do think that there is an aspect to these players that they complement each other very, very well, and I think that was a big part of it with Alonzo Carter. He said that he wants a running back room where there's all kinds of different players in it. We're going to get to that just in a second, but these guys are very much in that realm. And when like I said, if there's a 4th and 3, I think you feel pretty comfortable about both of these guys with their experience, with their body type, with their talent, to be able to find that, assuming that it's there. And I think what you're also going to see with these two is that they're going to just wear teams down as the season goes on, because they're both, again, neither one of them is a small guy, neither one of them is so if they're able to, as the game goes on, they're going to be getting stronger. And like I said, I think that you're going to see Alonzo Carter play very, very well, have these two play very, very well off of each other. And honestly, they're both really, really good dudes as well, and they fit in very well into this team aspect. And I think in that running back room, where you got 4 really, really good running backs, when your top 2 on the depth chart are good dudes, very likable guys, I think that makes the transition much easier for everyone else, especially too because they weren't here last year. But that's also the difference too in the transfer portal. With the transfer portal, that has changed basically everything. You bring guys in and at that stage, you got to be able to get instant contributors, and Alonzo Carter has certainly shown that he can get instant contributors. So again, one thing, I don't worry about the running back room at all while Alonzo Carter's here. He's going to be able to do a lot of really good things, I think, with this Arizona football program. Now, we are going to talk in a few minutes. We're going to talk about another player that is immensely talented, that I have an idea on what they should do. We've talked about it before, but we will see. But first, we need to talk about eBay Motors. Here's the deal with eBay Motors. eBay Motors is fantastic. If you're like me and you know nothing about cars, and you go to the dealer and you're immediately like, okay, well, I'm probably about to get screwed out of some money because they're going to charge me for a lot more stuff that I don't really want, whatever the case may be, eBay Motors is here. They say, hey, let us help people like Mike Luke. And we very much appreciate that. Millions of parts for your MVP. Win every time with parts that fit your ride. The great thing, too, about eBay Motors, too, is that you can shop yourself. You don't have to rely on somebody on the corner that's just telling you that something's more expensive than it probably is. Don't worry about that. Don't fall into that trap. eBay Motors, my friends. Millions of parts for your MVP. Win every time with parts that fit your ride. The great thing about eBay Motors is Again, you know that you can basically save money, and you can go with somebody you trust there, and you can rely on yourself. So again, check it out. Millions of parts for your MVP. Win every time with parts that fit your ride. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the other running backs in the room here. Now, with Kedrick Reesano, obviously that's going to be a player that I don't think a lot of people thought was going to contribute a lot this year, but he's only a freshman. He's going to be able to, his second year in college. His time is coming, and that time is going to be next year. But when you got two absolute animals in front of him, that is not, like I said, right now, that's not going to be his time. I totally get it. Like I said, but the one I want to talk about is Rayshon Speedy Luke. Fam! I want to talk about Fam here. All right, with Fam, I have thought this before. I would love, and again, I know a pushback I'll get. We're going to talk about it in a second. I would love to redshirt Fam because, listen, first of all, he should have been redshirted one of his first 2 years when he came to the U of A. He came in here at $150, $155, whatever the case may be. That was malfeasance on Jed Fish's part. You don't redshirt the young man when he only gets 15 touches all season. You've got to do that. So, I would love to be able to get him some game action, but then redshirt him this season, because then you have 2 full seasons of him and Kedrick up front, and I think that is a very, very dynamic group. You get those two together, and I think that you can cause a lot of problems for opposing defenses. But like I said, I just don't want to waste a season. And here's the thing, is that Quali, Conley, and Jacory, Croskey, Merritt, these dudes are older. These guys are in their 5th or 6th year of college, and you can tell by looking at them that they are going to get a lot of carries, and they deserve a lot of carries. I think Rayshon Speedy Luke has the absolute. I think he has got a ton of potential, and when I watch him, you can see it. He's gotten stronger. I still think he needs probably one more year. But if you can redshirt him, then you get him going. Next season. You've got 2 full years of him and Kedrick. All of a sudden, I think you feel very good about it. I know that we're kind of at the stage where kids, they always say, well, if you redshirt him, then you're redshirting him for someone else. I get it, but I think Alonzo Carter is also somewhat of a straight shooter, and I think that's something that is very, obvious. The way that he can put together a running back room, the way that he can do a lot of different things. With Alonzo Carter, I just, like I said, I very much appreciate what he does. And honestly, I think Rayshon Speedy Luke Fam would really benefit. And here's the other thing, too. I don't know why kids, and I'm not talking about this, I'm just saying in general, are in just such a hurry to leave college. If you redshirt this year, you can come back at a solid, 188, 190, and then I think that you're pretty much good to go. You're clearly at the top of the depth chart with Kedrick, and you both have multiple years, kind of that thunder and lightning type role. And we've already seen too that Alonzo Carter likes to divvy up the running back, responsibilities. So both those dudes, I think would be absolute terror. I just don't think that you should waste a year if you're only going to get a few carries game in and game out. And like I said, I certainly get the other point of view. And you've obviously, I think with Speedy, it's one of those things you want to make sure that you're on the same page with the family, because the family has been fantastic. The family has done this all the right way. But that's where I'm kind of at, because again, I think he's got the world of talent. If I didn't think he had a world of talent, I'd be like, all right, well, who cares? You don't need to redshirt him. Let's just move on. But I think that when you've got a player of this ilk, I think it is I think it just works. I think that it makes a lot of sense, and he can very much benefit, in my opinion. That's the other thing too. He is, and I put so much of this on Jed Fish, and that Jed Fish did not redshirt somebody that absolutely should have been redshirted. Because again, I mean, I don't care how good you are when you come in that slight of build. you need time to be able to bulk up. And let's be honest, if you're getting 15 touches the whole season, what are we really doing here? So that's what I hope that they can come to some kind of agreement on that, because I'd love to see him. I think that he has got a big time role in the backfield next year. But I totally understand in this day of college football how everything is. So there is that. Now, the offensive line. I thought the offensive line was very good in game one. Now, we obviously have a few injury issue that came out of it, but let's talk about it. I thought, Noah Fafita was barely touched the entire game. So the people that are saying that, Noah Fafita, the offensive line didn't look good, I don't know what you're looking for. I think, as a matter of fact, you're looking for something to complain about, because I thought the offensive line was very, very good. Listen, Noah Fafita was barely touched, and not only was he barely touched, he was able to basically throw. He had all the time in the world to make basically to be able to make all the throws that he needed to make. I was totally fine with the O-line, and I thought they all played very well. Now, granted, it's New Mexico. I get it. But at the same time, I think there is something to be said for the fact that, it's your first game and they all played well. Now, Big Rhino obviously left the game. Rhino might miss a couple weeks, but listen, I came away from this game thinking with Rhino that this is a dude who is there's a lot to like about him. There's a lot to like about him, and not only is there a lot to like about him, there is an aspect to him that he is that he looks natural at that left tackle spot, and he is like I said, an opposite Big Jonah. Very good. Now, I think with Big Jonah, you're going to see him probably moved to left tackle if Rhino's got to miss some time, and I'm fine with that. Big Jonah, I believe, is as good an offensive lineman as there is in the country, from the way that he can, from his strength to the way that he can move to the way that he understands football. He's just a really, really good football player, and I think that with those two at your tackles, I feel good about it. But like I said, my Rhino probably going to miss a little bit of time, which means Matthew Lotto is going to be coming in. Now, I think he's got a big-time future. He didn't look great in camp. I get all of that. But there is something to be said for, that he did play fairly well when he came in there. This coaching staff is very, very high on him. And not only are they very high on him, I think they think that he can be that dude that, down the road is going to be a real linchpin for this offense. We'll find out. But that's the guy that is probably going to come in there, and that's probably the guy that is going to be the dude that is going to replace Rhino, if Rhino has to miss some time. I like it because at least it's not one of these redshirt seniors situations where all right, well, you're just kind of getting by. This is a player that's, I think, got a lot of potential going forward, and it's going to be fun to see. Now, we're going to talk about the commentators here in a second, but first, let's talk about FanDuel. FanDuel, check it out. All kinds of really good stuff at FanDuel. The great thing about FanDuel, and it's very simple, it is very self-explanatory, in that with FanDuel.com, you can bet on games, and not only can you bet on games, the college football's here. So if you got a little inkling that a team is overrated, or you're like, they're a little underrated, go to FanDuel. The best thing about FanDuel as well is that your money is good, which is a great thing about FanDuel. So again, check it out. And again, you're going to thank me later on this one, because with FanDuel, that there's just something that is nice to know that it's recognized, operated, all of that. So check it out, FanDuel.com. Another one of these ones where you will thank me later. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now the commentators. Rod Gilmore. We need to do something about Rod Gilmore. I don't understand why Rod Gilmore is an announcer. Listen, I get that you're going to mess up some names from time to time. I get all of that. But this dude does it every single show, and it's marquee players that I know that the SIDs go over his names with, and he completely ignores them. I know that for a fact. Last year with Noah Fafita, he couldn't pronounce his name to save his life. He screwed it up the entire time. Noah Fafita. It's like, dude, what are you doing? And then this past week, I have no clue where he got Quail Conley from. But he continued to call him Quail Conley, and then he made some really awkward jokes as well. Listen, a lot of times, a lot of these players aren't going to be playing in the NFL. A lot of times, this is going to be their one, stop to be able to, prove, or, their families can hear their name, stuff like that. Quail Conley is absurd. That should not happen. That should never happen. And the fact that ESPN allows this to happen makes kind of a mockery of the entire thing. He also totally butchered T-Mac's name to begin with. And T-Mac might be the best player in the country. So I don't know exactly why he does this, or does he just not care? But it's disrespectful. That's the best way I can put it. It's disrespectful. Listen, if you have a take that people don't agree with, whatever, totally get it. But if you have a football player and you're intentionally taking the time not to learn their names, and these are names that you should know, these aren't the third string defensive linemen, you should have a good idea. This is something that I think just continuously happens with him, and it happens at every Arizona game. Every time he comes here, he messes up names, and I don't know why. The Quail Conley thing is wild, because I know for a fact that it was gone over with him, and he's basically like, no. My thing is this, is if you're not going to take the time to even learn the players' names, then what are you doing? And that's where it's at. So Rod Gilmore, no. Rod Gilmore, not impressive at all. I don't think that he is like I said, I just don't think that somebody like him is befitting of being a college football analyst, because he clearly does not take his job seriously, and it's demeaning to other football players. But be that as it may. All right, now, we are going to start looking ahead a little bit to NAU, and here's what I want with NAU, and we're going to talk about the defense. All show, next show, we're going to talk about the defense, how it can improve, what it can do, and because there are some, there's certainly some things that this defense can improve upon, but I also think that they are correctable issues, and I think that's where we're at. I got a lot of faith in Dwayne Aquina. There were obviously some issues with containment, but I think these are issues that can be, I think, pretty much dealt with. So we will find that one out. But between that and a look at head to NAU, that's where we're at. Because then after that, the real bullets start flying. Then you've got Kansas State going on that trip to KSU. That's going to be obviously a huge game for Arizona, a massive game for Arizona, and it is like I said, it's going to be a big time test for the U of A to be able to show what they can do. So again, against NAU, I need you to annihilate NAU. I need you to just really take them to school, show everybody out there what Arizona football is all about, because this is basically your last tune-up. After this, like I said, the games really get going, and I think that it's going to be incumbent upon Arizona to be able to take advantage of all of that, because there are things that can be worked on. Like I said, the offense I think is going to be great all season. Matthew Lotto, there's certainly ways that you can help. There's certainly ways that you can help, him out there with, the tight end sets and whatnot. But you've also got to be able to, I think you've also got to be able to get him into into that realm where you're pretty much good to go. So we will find that one out. But on that note, though, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Bear down, back the A, and we will be back with you tomorrow.